Hi, my name is Mariana, and this is Two Lost Souls Swimming in the Fishbowl podcast. But today there's only one fish here, and that's me. And today I'm going to be talking about inner child. Now, I have heard from multiple people that since I am not a parent, that I do not have the right to talk about children or talk about parenting or talk about inner child or anything to do with children. And I have heard this from multiple clients at the salon. Well, you're not a mother, you don't know. And I'm here to make a different metaphor. A cardiologist does not have to have a heart attack in order to be a cardiologist, right? I'm going to show just a little bit of my credentials because initially I wanted to be a child psychologist before I went into my master's program in family therapy. Here is a book I read called How We Love by Milan and Kate Yurkovich. And they are a couples therapist, but they talk about how the inner child interacts in relationships, adult relationships, and they go step by step. Erik Erikson's Child and Society. I have read this book and I made a video about all his stages. Erikson is a wonderful human development and child development psychologist. Educational psychology. I took this course in undergrad and I've learned a lot about how children learn and the inner child and how we become adults with a wounded child, adolescent. I wanted to go into adolescent and specialize exactly how adolescents differ from young children, right? And then here is child development. And this is for my master's program now. The essence of family therapy. I've read all these books and a lot of them talk about inner child. What is inner child work? Inner child work is an approach to recognizing and healing childhood trauma. It recognizes that our behaviors as adults stems from our childhood experiences. Inner child work focuses on addressing our unmet needs by reparenting ourselves. We're not looking for our parents to fix themselves. We are integrating our own inner child. This kind of self-discovery helps us understand our behaviors, triggers, wants, and needs. When we begin inner child work, we tap into a part of ourselves that is vulnerable and impressionable. We are able to both be the grown-up and the child, providing unconditional self-love, self-compassion, and self-support. How it begins, right? When we become adults, the inner child has hierarchy. What do I mean by that? Our inner child does not disappear. The inner child, our own inner child, does not die. Remembering that the first 18 years of our life has precedence over our adults. The first 18 years of our lives, especially the first 7, we were giving all these coping mechanisms and emotions that were felt and the way we defended ourselves into the world, to external world. The existence of our inner child continued to appears, influencing the adult in many ways. How do we know, right? 90% of all reactive interactions stems from our inner child. Reactive interactions, meaning triggers, wants, needs. Our inner child is fragmented within us in a variation of ages and experiences. It is important to remember everything, either negative or painful, and also when we rejoice at maybe a birthday party, right? The joy we feel as an adult is the joy of our inner child. The child is the happy side of us. Whatever unhealed inner child may present more difficulties in relationships, especially romantic ones. I'm going to pose some questions. How do you treat yourself when you're vulnerable? Which emotions is most present in your life? Fear, anger, sadness, anxiousness? What guilt do I carry that I haven't forgiven? The basis of all the inner child suffering is quite simple. The fear of not being liked, the fear of not feeling safe, and the fear of not deserving. I want you to distinguish when it's the inner child or the adult. Let's take inventory. When is it that the inner child is being reactive within ourselves as adults? When we feel the inner child, when we are happy to see someone, that child is happy, like a Labrador, like a golden retriever, happy to see someone, right? They're always wagging their tail, jumping, and it's like a shower of happiness happening. When we feel creative and curious and we want to learn more or meet new people, that is the curiosity, like a little kitten, curious of everything around us. We feel the inner child who likes to draw or dance. A lot of people are in touch with that. So their inner child is happy in that aspect, if that's something you like to do as a child. We feel the inner child when everything is exaggerated without limits. As an example, if you're one of those people that are able to eat an entire bag of chips in one sitting, or an entire tub of ice cream, such as like overindulgence in anything, is the inner child, right? The child does not have limits. The parents are the one who impose limits, right? For those who spend money compulsively and who cannot save money, the child knows no limits, remember? When we obey someone or when we rebel against someone saying, I hate you, that's the inner child. When we are afraid to face something, so non-confrontational people are usually a wounded inner child. When we isolate ourselves and we don't want to talk to anyone, the inner child wants to be alone. The child usually places themselves in a corner for his thoughts. This is common for one of those children that the parents were like, go to your room or sit in the corner and think about what you've done. The child doesn't have abstract thinking, so unless the parent goes up to them afterwards and explains exactly what they did wrong, they're just not gonna know, because they're either sitting at that corner for eternity and then they could play again, and if it's not explained, they won't really know. You have to ask them, do you know what you did wrong? Verbalizing is very important. The inner child does things out of obligation, or the inner child usually feels forced to do things not because it's the responsible thing to do. So when you do things out of obligation and it feels like you have to force to do things, like you force yourself, that's your inner child, because the adult is responsible, correct? The inner child is usually triggered for people who are easily offended. This child did not heal all the wounds of being criticized or being criticized by others or family members. For those who fell madly in love very quickly, that's the inner child. The adult is more careful. The adult is callous. The adult knows not to give their heart away so easily. For those Romeo and Juliet people, they died at the age of 15 and 16. Just take that into consideration. For those who worry a lot about their children and who are afraid of their children using drugs, and their daughter with a boyfriend with a bad character, all these fears have more to do with their own wounded child than the actual child themselves, their own children. As we heal ourselves as adults, right? The better we trust ourselves and the better we are responsible in parenting our children. People who like to please others too much, these are children who are often neglected and not spoken to, or had a narcissistic type of parenting, so they like to please others too much. Or it could be the opposite. They don't care about what others think at all. It is difficult to know how to distinguish or make associations between the adult and inner child, right? For those who don't have much memory of their childhood, much at all, usually we could say that there is some pain behind that. The brain usually encapsulates the trauma, so many people don't remember their childhood. Some people remember more than others, but others remember less, right? Positive validation from parenting is very important. Some parents have difficulty validating their child's positive qualities or saying something good, because some parents may think like, well, if I say something, this could make my child not respect me. Or they may believe that it's just better not to talk, just leaving things or letting things lie or sweeping things under the rug. Maybe because they are unable to verbalize it themselves, right? The inner child is wounded. Their own inner child is wounded. When any child grows up believing that nothing they do or they did was good enough, they become addicted to work and addicted to perfection. Those out there seeking perfection or who are perfectionists, perfection doesn't exist. As long as we are humans, we are flawed and imperfect. Have you heard of that phrase, perfectly imperfect? Yep, that's us humans. The only thing that is perfect is death. Death is perfect. It simply is. It's done. It's gone. And it's a permanent and perfect thing. Any of those who are seeking perfection, psychoanalysis can say that those are unconsciously seeking ways or wishing they were dead or seeking death in some unconscious way, right? The thanatos that Freud talked about. Many people who do not believe or do not feel that they belong to their own family because they're missing recognition, and that generates lack of individuality. When the child was told too often to be quiet, or the parents told him, shut up because adults were talking, these children can grow up having difficulties expressing themselves as adults and having conversations with other adults. These children may be more quiet, or they may be more isolated, and they have become introverts because they were not able to express or talk, and they were often told to shut up or be quiet or go to your room. What are the benefits of inner child work? Let's get to something positive, right? Jesus. When we begin working to heal our inner child, we can sort of go back in time emotionally and mentally to that traumatic event. You can understand how the inner child feels from a perspective of an adult. With that, your adult self can start to untangle the coping mechanisms that we developed as children. We can go back to our 14-year-old self, our 4-year-old self, and things that we built at that time, declarations we made to ourselves, and coping mechanisms that we came up with to protect ourselves from further drama. So sometimes we are stagnant and stuck in certain ages because certain traumas were created, and it was for our own way to protect ourselves from future traumas and future hurts. Inner child work is very important. Not every therapist does inner child work. Find someone that knows how to deal with inner child work or does inner child healing. Seek therapy today. Quantum healing is one of those things that help this, and so is hypnosis. But hypnosis has to be through someone who has credentials, and hypnosis does work. Don't let any CBT or any other solution-focused therapist say that it doesn't work. There are plenty of studies out there that confirm that hypnosis works, and it's a wonderful way. And so is family constellation therapy, which is a feminology, is a perfect way. All those things are wonderful ways to heal our inner child. And my name is Mariana, and this is my podcast, in Inner Child, and I can testify that healing my own child has brought me to this very moment where my adult is satisfied with the life I'm living in every aspect possible. And that is why I'm able to sit here and do these podcasts. If I wasn't, I was not going to be able to read these things and come up with these ideas and come up with all these things that I want to talk about if it didn't work on myself. This is Two Lost Souls Swimming in the Fishbowl, and I hope you enjoyed this message. Thank you.